Everybody's out here overcomplicating how to build a personal brand, but it's actually extremely simple. You're gonna hear people say things like, you need credibility, you need fancy camera equipment, you need a lot of money to get started. But that's the kind of advice that gets people nowhere fast. Now, I personally started from zero myself. No audience, no name, nothing. I was literally just a 9-to-5 employee in a tech sales job, and I just had a laptop, an internet connection, and a message I believed in. Fast forward 7 years later, and I've built a personal brand to over 300,000 YouTube subscribers and a business that brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. And the crazy part is, all I'm really doing is creating content, having real conversations with my clients, and getting paid to share what I know and love. But here's the problem in 2025. Most people fail because they're just copying strategies that worked years ago. They're not realizing that the game has completely changed. And if you're following outdated advice, you can expect outdated results. So in this video, we're gonna throw all that old outdated strategies out the window, and I'm gonna be showing you what's actually working right now for 2025. These are the exact strategies that I'm personally using myself today to grow my personal brand and attract high-paying clients, which allows me to work from anywhere I want in the world, to live in Vietnam and move out of America and really just have the freedom to do whatever I want. Now, this isn't just some surface level tutorial. This is actually the real blueprint, a blueprint that I've been spending the last 7 years building, making mistakes, burning cash, hiring the wrong people, and trying to figure it out by myself. And I'm gonna be giving it to you on a silver platter so that you can literally just copy me, save years of your life of pain and struggle, and start getting results today. I'm also going to show you how to authentically monetize your audience so that you're not looking like a sellout and actually making an income doing what you love. So if you're actually serious about building your personal brand that pays you dividends for life, this is the blueprint that I wish I had when I was starting from scratch. And best of all, I'm gonna be revealing some of the master AI prompts that I've been using to speed up the process in building my personal brand. And I'm gonna show you exactly how you can implement AI to practically build out your business. Now, the first step in building a personal brand is deciding what you want to be known for. The majority of creators who are putting out content out there, the reason for why they're not getting any traction is because they haven't made a decision on who they want to become and what they want their brand to be all about. They'll randomly make videos on different topics like fitness, philosophy, stoicism, business, and they're trying to put it all together, expecting people to come to them. But the reality is, if you're not known for a specific thing, it's very hard for someone to first find you, and second of all, even recommend you, because how would they even describe you to another person? So if you want to figure out what you want to be known for, it's very simple. Get out a sheet of paper and write down all the things that you are naturally interested in. It doesn't matter if it makes money or not, you just need a list so you can put it down on paper to visually see this. Most people don't even get it this far, and they just randomly have all these ideas in their head. But all these ideas often lead to inaction. So let's get a paper and pen and just put it down. Or, write all the things you're interested. I don't care if it's anime, video games, business, marketing, HR, it doesn't matter. Literally, the world is so big these days that in any niche you can make money in, whether it's helping people make money, helping people save time, or even if it's just hobbies and entertainment like Pokemon trading cards. It literally doesn't matter. There's a market for everything. In fact, if you look at the Pokemon trading cards that are on the market on eBay right now, there are cards selling for literally hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. So you'd be surprised, even your hobbies can be very profitable. Now, I'm gonna give you a hack, and that is using AI to speed up the process. So all you need to do is this. You open up ChatGPT, you can use a free version or a paid version. I personally use the paid, and you wanna put in this prompt. So the prompt goes like this: act like you are a personal brand strategist who've helped the top YouTubers, creators, and niche influencers build magnetic personal brands. Based on these interests, skills, and values, so this is where you're gonna put your entire list, give me 5 distinct personal brand positioning angles, ranging from broad to hyper-specific. Make each one feel like a category of one. So that category of one is really just trying to differentiate yourself from everybody else that's doing something similar. All right, and now to demonstrate how this works, I went ahead and went through an example myself to give you an example of how you can do it as well, right? So the different hobbies and interests that I actually put in this example were going to be high-end collectibles like Pokemon cards, figurines, bear bricks, sneakers, buying and trading assets, fashion, streetwear, hip hop, making money online. So these are the interests that I have and I just want to see, what can ChatGPT give me? Now, based on this input, I got the culture hacker, which is broadcast positioning, pop culture, and online income. So what is that? Turning hype culture into income culture? That's kind of interesting. So what they're recommending is like who you are, decode the world, sneakers, streetwear, Pokemon cards, not just to collect, but to flip. So yeah, I can definitely see that. A YouTube channel dedicated to like all the hype Pokemon cards, what's selling, what's hot, because any place where people want to make money, especially when it's something fun and online, like there will be YouTube channels out there supporting this, right? And people will watch. Because I know personally, because I watch this stuff all the time just to see what's going on. Monetizing collectibles, psychology, scarcity, hype. Because I think, based on my understanding of this and what ChatGPT is giving me, I know for these kind of subcultures, there's not a lot of people making high quality educational content for people to come in and actually use their advice to make money. So there's a really big gap in the market where entertainment meets commerce, and putting it together so that the everyday person can understand what to buy, what to sell, and not lose money, right? So I can definitely see this actually being a pretty profitable niche if someone were to do it. You could be the digital reseller king. So that's kind of interesting. So it's like your modern day treasure hunter, right? Going to garage sales, going to different places, buying different things, selling it online. I can definitely see that working, and you could probably sell a course or a coaching program teaching other people how to do that. So this definitely easily can be a 10K a month business. So you can do like vlog styles, talking head styles, so many different ways to go. Negotiating. Like I see a lot of watch dealers actually these days, going to the Diamond District in New York, dealing watches, right? And it's very entertaining to see these people, basically just live their lives and run their business. Another one I found interesting was the alt asset alchemist. It's a cheesy name, but the idea is pretty strong, which is like an elite niche positioning, building wealth from cultural assets. So people that buy Pokemon cards, bear bricks, these kind of things. And basically probably just talking about the news and how to invest in these things as an asset class. Because it is, a lot of people are actually spending a lot of money, millions of dollars on these like things that are interesting, right? And why would they buy that versus a house or gold? Because it's fun, it's interesting. They're down to spend, 1, 2, 3% of their net worth holding these assets because it's just fun to talk about, right? It's similar to how people buy Rolex watches. Would you rather have a Rolex or a house? Well, sometimes you might want to have a Rolex so you can share with your friends, right? And I think there's a lot of YouTube channels out there you can search for yourself in watches, collectibles, Pokemon cards, and they're really big. So don't think that just because you have these random hobbies, you can't make money from it. You probably can. Even if you were playing the piano or if you were, knitting and sewing, there is a market for these things. Even home crafts good is actually a huge market, I've learned actually. People just like making stuff at home and just doing arts and crafts. Even some of the biggest YouTube channels in the world are around arts and crafts, right? There's a big market for these segments. So the key important part is really finding your interests, running it through AI, and finding different ways to actually monetize, because believe it or not, you'd be surprised on different ways you can monetize your passions. And if you're someone who is looking to build your personal brand and make a full-time income doing what you love, make sure to check out founderx.net, which is our elite business program, where I personally take you from a 9-to-5 job to build your profitable personal brand in a matter of weeks. I've also helped people who are business owners and coaches and consultants scale up their personal brand, create content, and sign high ticket clients. So if you want to explode your personal brand and generate an income doing what you love, founderx.net is the place to be. Apply now to book a call with me and my team, and we can see how we can help you. Now, I also add that an important note when it comes to building your personal brand is defining who you are, but also defining who you are not. Right? Because when you have this clear separation of who you are and who you are not, it's very clear on which direction to go. So for example, let's say for me, I'm teaching people how to build a personal brand. So I'm more on the educational side and aspirational side. But what I'm not is, those guys who are constantly flexing like Lamborghinis or something, right? That's not who I want to be. It's very easy to create that image. I could go out and do it tomorrow, make some videos and just, make some stuff up, and probably people would believe me. But that's not who I want to be. So when you make a clear distinction of who you are and who you are not, you kind of lean away from all the cheesiness or the things that you don't like, and you lean towards what you do like. It's a very important distinction that you make to have clarity on who you want to become. Now, I'll give you some sauce to really help you stand out from everybody else maybe talking about the same topic. The first thing you want to do is think about, what do you believe that other people do not? Because oftentimes when you have a contradictory opinion, it does get a lot of views because conflict create attention, right? So for example, if you were, let's say, doing a YouTube channel on alternative investments, and maybe during one time, nobody was really paying attention to gold, but you were like, gold is going to be so valuable. The economy is going to be so unstable, everyone's going to buy it. So when you're early to that idea and you have an opinion that contradicts what everyday person is talking about, then suddenly when what you say becomes true or it becomes more evident, then you get the props for that, right? It's very similar to back in the day when everyone was saying you're in the matrix and school's a scam. Sometime people were saying like, how can you say school's a scam? You're going to get a job. But now more and more people are realizing that, hey, actually universities don't guarantee you a job. And there's a lot of people who spend a lot of money on universities and still can't get a job, right? Having a strong contrary belief compared to other people really does set you apart. Now, another way to really hone in on what your niche should be is think about all the things that people naturally compliment you on. You literally just go to some of your best friends, your family, and just ask them like, hey, if there are 3 things that you think I'm really good at, like what would they be? And you'd be surprised of what people say, right? Sometimes they might say, oh, like you're a really deep thinker. Oh, you're really good at sales. Oh, you're really good at this thing, right? And some of these traits and attributes that they may give you, you may not have even suspected that you're good at those things. So take those things, add them to your list, and run it through an AI prompt like I gave you and start generating ideas. And if you don't like the ideas that ChatGPT is giving you off the bat, you can just roll it again. It's almost like rolling the dice, right? So don't think that the first 5, ideas that they give you, that's it. Literally, you can say, hey, I don't think these ideas are it. Can you give me 10 more ideas to see what that looks like? And you keep doing it until you find an answer that you feel somewhat comfortable with. You don't understand that nothing is set in stone. You can change at any point, you can pivot, but you just need a simple direction to actually start creating content. Now, once you do have a niche you want to play in, the next step is really checking market demand. Because you might find something that AI tells you makes money and maybe it's interesting, but you need to actually check the actual market today to see if people actually care. So how do you do that? The first step is actually just finding other creators who are talking about the same subject you are talking about. It doesn't mean you have to copy them. It doesn't mean you have to create content the same way they create it. You just need to know if there is demand for that subject. And once you find these creators, go to their websites, go through their funnels, go through whatever links that they have and try to figure out how is it that they're actually making money. Personally, if I were you and I was like trying to test it out, I would create a new email, sign up for everything they have, the newsletters, book a call with them if they have something like that, and just talk with them and say, hey, what are you guys offering? Like, what's the price points? And by them giving it to you, whether it's a sales rep or if it's on their website, you're going to get a good understanding of like, okay, this is how they make money. This is how much they charge. Do you see yourself creating a product or service like that to also make money? And if so, you're going in the right direction. So some simple tips, right? So let's say you're creating content around tech, the newest technology, you're just talking about the news, right? You're going to go to people like, MKBHD, who talks about tech all the time. You're going to go to this other guy, Justin C, who also talks about tech, right? And you're going to see like how many followers do they have? Are they making money? Is it through sponsorships? Is it selling courses? Is it digital products? Is it selling wallpapers, right? You need to just break down their entire business model to see which one you want to go after. Now, I'll give you a ninja hack that not a lot of people are using, and that is actually using software tools to figure out what the true demand is based on keyword search volume. Now, when I first started out doing YouTube, what I did was I went for certain keywords that had relatively high demand and low competition. So one of the first keywords I went for was tech sales. So I would use this tool called vidIQ, and I would look on YouTube and it would show me, okay, for the tech sales keywords, every month there are about 19,000 people who are searching this. Competition is relatively low, so I knew that if I made a video around this subject, I would just naturally get views because there's no competitors. So you're gonna find all these keywords where you can compete and be number one in. And right now, from my opinion, and last time I checked, a bunch of random keywords, in almost every niche, it's not competitive. You can go into accounting, tech sales, how to cold call, how to send a cold email. All these niches are actually very not competitive, believe it or not. So for me, I actually have one of the most popular cold email videos in the entire world that has more than 500,000 organic views, right? And the video is okay. It's not like anything amazing. It's just a tutorial. But because it was better than average and I knew how to do the keyword ranking, I just ranked at the top for that. I just got a ton of views. Similar to how that's pretty much how I grew my YouTube channel in the very beginning. So for your specific keywords and what you're interested in, you got to be creating content around these keywords that have high volume, low competition, because then people are naturally searching for it. And if they find your video and it has a good title, a thumbnail, the whole packaging, they click on it and the video is actually good, that's how you're easily going to get your first 1,000 subscribers. Now, even with that said, there are still going to be people who you are competing against. And so you're going to need a way to stand out. Now, I'm going to give you the 80-20 shortcut on how you can stand out on platforms like YouTube, but you can apply this to literally any platform, whether it's LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, the fundamentals are the same. So the first thing is understanding where's the gap. So you look at a market and you see where the holes are. What kind of content do people want to see, but nobody's creating it yet, right? So what is that thing that's actually missing? So I'll give you a personal example for me. The reason my YouTube channel blew up originally was because I was one of the only people talking about tech sales way back in the day. This was like 5 years ago, because I was young, I had experience, but I wasn't like an old white dude or something with 10 years of experience telling you how to sell. I was like coming out of my tech sales career, teaching you all the things I knew firsthand of being in the trenches. Because of that perspective, and it was just so different from what was already out, a lot of people gravitated towards me. And then the second thing I did to really stand out against the crowd was increasing the production quality for tech sales creators. Because at the time, a lot of people who did tech sales content or even closing content or sales content, the production quality just wasn't that good because, you know, sales coaches and salespeople aren't really good content creators. So there was like this gap in the market that was waiting to be filled. So because I just moved really quick when I noticed the opportunity, try to, you know, buy the best camera equipment to get my production and audio quality as high as I could, I just filled that gap easily. So you want to look in your market, where are the gaps? What's missing? How can you improve? And sometimes being different is just your background as well, right? Because if everyone's older and they have a certain perspective, if you're younger and you're coming with a fresh new perspective, you're going to attract all the younger people who are interested in that topic. And now another advanced tip is really just going against the grain. So when everybody's moving in one direction, what can you do to move in the other direction to look different? So this is a concept called Purple Cow. It's by Seth Godin. And essentially what it is, let's say you're driving on the road, right? You're in a car and you're seeing all these cows in the farmland or whatever. And, you know, all the cows are going to be white and black, right? So you're driving, all these cows. Okay, cool. But then all of a sudden you see this purple cow and you're like, wait a minute, what is that? Why is that cow purple? So you pay attention to that purple cow, not because it's better, not because the milk is better or whatever. It's because it's purple. It's just different, right? And different people naturally perceive as better. So how can you be different in your niche? When others zig, how do you zag? Sometimes it's just having a very contradictory opinion. For example, Kanye West right now, I'm not sure what I can say without, you know, getting this video shadow banned, but if you follow him on Twitter, you would know that he's saying a lot of controversial things that go against the grain. And that if he, you know, his last music video that he basically put up, it keeps getting deleted. It's getting banned from countries, it's getting banned from YouTube, banned from Spotify, banned from every single place except Twitter and X, which has more free speech. So because of this, everyone's talking about him because he's going against the grain. So how are you going to go against the grain? What's your opinion that's very different from everybody else? And if you're not sure, let's go to AI to help you out. So I'm going to give you an AI prompt for competitor analysis. So you're a growth expert for digital creators analyzing, and you want to put in your specific niche here, like the collectibles content space, and show me 3 content and offer opportunities with high demand, low competition. I want gaps I can dominate, not trends that are easily played out. You've helped creators build cult brands and saturated niches. Tell me what most creators in this specific niche are doing, then show me how I can stand out using my story style, strategy. Give me 3 contrast-based angles I can run with. Okay, so I'm going to use the niche that we created from the first prompt that we had, which was the pop culture and online income, helping people make money with alternative assets as an example, right? So the prompt that I gave you guys, it's going to show what most creators are doing, and what you want to do is go against the grain to stand out. So right now, based on its analysis, most people are doing the short-term flipping kind of content. How I made $300 flipping sneakers, right? Which I can understand gets views. Now, what's missing from their perspective is that no one's talking about how to do this as a long-term business. No one's talking about the deep psychology of why this works to fundamentally understand. So it's like teaching someone how to fish versus catching the fish for them, right? So what it's saying is like, okay, high demand, low competition, content and offer opportunities, obsession to empire, right? It's teaching people how to turn a niche, like sneakers and streetwear into a personal brand business. Okay, pretty interesting. So it's going from helping people go from a fan to being a casual flipper into a founder and turning it into a real business. I can understand like this is something people would pay money for sure. Because a lot of people are doing like these Pokemon card shops and, you know, really expanding their flipping business. Another angle that I gave is asset aesthetic deep dives. So create long form vertical content on why hype items like Bear Bricks, Nike SBs, Pokemon hold value emotionally, culturally, and financially. This is actually a pretty interesting idea because I would personally be a consumer of this content, you know? Like I'm very curious to understand, why do people love Pokemon cards so much? Why did this Charizard sell for $100,000? I would personally watch that, and maybe one day I'll buy these expensive cards because of, you know, what I've learned from that channel and becoming a fan to a flipper to, you know, someone that buys and collects. I'm probably not going to create a whole business on that because I have another business, but I can understand for a certain percentage of people, you probably could sell a program or coaching or something, helping them go full-time on their hobbies. So you see, like, by just using AI to brainstorm ideas, you can figure out how to go against the grain really fast. And all you need to do is just put in the right inputs, ask the right questions, and it will give you beautiful answers. Now, most people get it wrong when it comes to using AI is they're using it in such a surface level way where they're just saying, hey, give me 5 ideas. And it's not good enough. It's all about the quality of your input and your questions that will determine the quality of the output. Now, once you understand how to differentiate yourself from the rest of the competition, the next step in really deciding how to build your personal brand is, should you niche down or should you go wide and more broad and more general? Now, if you're starting from zero, here's my personal take. If you go too broad, too general, too fast, most likely you're not going to get a lot of views because there's no specific reason for why someone would watch you. And plus, you're probably not that good of a content creator to begin with because you're starting out. So there's not enough of a pull. So if you niche down, you would rather be the king of a pond than a tiny fish in the ocean. And then from there you can expand. So I would actually start by niching down, but you want to add your sauce, your special flavor, and how you stand out, just like what we've been talking about in this entire video. And now to take it to the next level, it's your interest that naturally pique your curiosity that's going to make you different in that particular niche. Understand that there are infinite ways to talk about a single subject. So I'll give you an example. For me, in my channel, we talk a lot about personal branding, creating content, and generating sales, right? These are pretty much the main topics. But how I make it a little more different and unique is I add my personal flavor, which is my story, right? So I left my 6-figure tech sales job, moved from San Francisco, and then I moved to Southeast Asia, living in Vietnam now, building an online business. So you're gonna see, and if you look at my library of videos, oftentimes I'll use a lot of B-rolls, right? So a lot of shots of me living my life in Vietnam, my day-to-day, like what's going on, me traveling, swimming with the whale sharks, fireworks. And it's because I wanna show people that this is the life I actually live. So it's not just I'm talking about how to build a personal brand. I'm talking about how to build a personal brand so you can live the life you want. And I'm selling the idea of freedom. And there are other people who are also going to be talking about personal branding, sales, and marketing, but their whole perspective on how they do it may not be so focused on freedom and travel like mine. That's just what I'm naturally interested, and it shows in my content. So even if you are talking about Pokemon cards, for example, you could talk about Pokemon cards in an infinite number of ways. Right? Like for me, one of my personal interests is going to be, say, anime. So I'll use a lot of anime references in previous videos, right? I'll use examples of Solo Leveling, One Piece, Demon Slayer, and I have before. I'm also into boxing. So I'm going to include some B-roll clips of me boxing and trying to connect that with building a business, building discipline, because it's interesting and it's also authentic. Think about your interests that even if it doesn't even make any money and you know that's not the niche you're choosing, take those interests, combine it into your niche to make it unique and different. So if you love cars and drifting and racing, include that into your content, even if you're talking about sales or marketing. There's always an interesting creative way to do it. So we nailed down how to build a personal brand, how to add your sauce, how to be different. Now we're going to actually talk about what type of content you should be making. Now, when you're starting from zero, there are a couple formats that I recommend that are actually very easy to get started with. The first is actually just inspiring and teaching, right? So if you think about this video, it's a guide, right? It's like a masterclass. And all I'm really doing is talking, giving examples, sharing my story, and that's it. I don't have to like go around and film everywhere. I can do the entire thing in this room. And when I add B-rolls and effects and everything, it just makes the whole thing really good. So If you're teaching something, like teaching people how to have better posture, the best ways to, buy Pokemon cards on the cheap and flip them, right? You can literally do it in a room and just inspire and teach. Now, another way to create content is just documenting and sharing your journey and what you're doing. So let's say you're running a social media marketing agency. Your content could literally be you signing clients, delivering them results, putting together case studies, and just revealing behind the hood of how you actually run your business. Because other businesses who see this behind the scenes are gonna love what you're doing, right? A really good example is gonna be Represent Clothing. So they're this UK-based brand, and they're expanding all over the world now. I think they do over 100 million in revenue at this point. And their main series on their YouTube channel is basically a vlog. It's just documenting the lives of the co-founders and everything they're doing at the company to really, fulfill their vision. And because the vlogs are so real, so authentic, and the storytelling is so good, it's very easy for them to sell their clothes because they're selling a lifestyle, an aspirational version of yourself, right? They're selling the idea of you becoming the best version of yourself. And because those vlogs are so good and so believable, it inspires you. So you're gonna wanna wear the clothes to kind of, in a way, believe in yourself. So that's why behind the scenes is so powerful, even though the views and everything might be less, but for the people that watch it regularly, they become diehard fans. Last way of creating content is going to be one of the easiest, especially if you have zero credibility, you've never done anything, and you have no clients. And that is just reporting. So reporting is really easy because you just talk about what's going on in the news, right? So if you're talking about, this Pokemon card traded for, $500,000, you didn't say you flipped it. You didn't say you bought it for cheap and sold it high. You're just saying that somebody else did it and you're reporting on the news. So reporters are really good because they just share what's happening. And over time, when you start developing an opinion on a specific industry, people will really respect that opinion and eventually pay money for your advice. And you just started out as a beginner reporter, but by putting yourselves in that industry and just learning the ins and outs, suddenly you become more extremely valuable, your knowledge at least, and then you become an industry insider because of all the time you put into your craft. So those are going to be the three easiest ways to create content. There are other ones like doing challenges, like I'm going to make $100,000 in 3 months, right? But those ones, like these other types of formats, are pretty difficult to do. It takes a lot of planning and it takes a little more experience. But if you're starting out, these three, just teaching, inspiring, behind the scenes, reporting, get started with one of those and just put out your first piece of content. Now at this point, you kind of have an idea of the format of content you want to start creating, but now you need to figure out, where do you actually find good content ideas? And I'll tell you a secret. 70% or maybe 60 to 70% of my time on a video is going to be spent on just looking for the idea and the packaging, the thumbnail and the title. 40%-ish of my time is spent on writing and filming the video itself. So you can imagine the most time consuming and energy draining part of creating content is going to be finding good ideas. Because if you put a lot of energy into a bad idea, it's not going to hit anyways. So you would rather put your energy into finding ideas and then just, getting the video done as quickly as possible, right? That's my personal take on it. So how do you find good ideas? It's pretty simple. You look for outliers on other people's YouTube channels, right? So what I personally do is I create a YouTube channel account where I follow a lot of people in my niche, outside of my niche, people that I take inspiration from, especially the smaller creators who have, who might have like new, fresh ideas, right? And when they come out with something that just hits, where it's an outlier, which means the video just performs way better than their other videos. Let's say they usually get 5K per post, but one video just got 100K. I'll look at the title, I'll look at the thumbnail, I'll look at the idea itself, and I'll think, okay, I can see why that worked and why it's so much better than everything else you're doing. How can I take the core idea and apply it for my niche? It's not like I'm copying it directly, because there's no way I can copy a video directly. It's more like, what is the core idea? Why are people choosing to watch this particular video? And I'll tell you a secret. All the biggest creators that you see, the biggest names, right? I don't need to name any of them. They always steal ideas all the time, because I follow all of them, especially in the business niche. What they do is they look for these small creators and they'll basically steal their title, thumbnail, an idea, and they'll just remix it for their niche. And because they remix it, it's pretty much fair game, right? So if 100 creators remix one idea, how do you say who was the originator? How do you say like where it came from? How do you even know who they copied? Because there's 10 other people, who could make that claim. So that is the best way to find ideas, to take an idea that already works and remix it into something better. And I'll tell you this, the best ideas comes from outside of your niche. So for me, I actually really look at fashion, gaming. I look at what's popular for Twitch streams. You know, if I see like, you know, FaZe Clan, you know, doing streams, or if I see Kanye West doing streams, I'm watching that to see like, why is it capturing so much attention? Why is it so interesting? And you take whatever core lessons you can from things outside of your industry and you bring it inside your industry to make it more unique and interesting. Now that you're starting to create content, you're getting some good ideas, what's the next step? It's really just volume and consistency. So this is where most creators are gonna get it wrong and why they never get their creator career, you know, off the ground. It's mainly because they just don't post enough content. So I see this all the time. Somebody comes in, they want to be a creator, they'll post 1 video, 2 video, 3, 4, 5. And then after, you know, making those videos and hours of creating the content itself, maybe they'll have 100 subscribers and then they give up. And that is the end of their career, period. There's nothing more to be said. So for me, when I started, I was literally getting 30 views a post, 50 views, and then maybe after a couple months, 100 views, right? And that's just the sad reality of it. Sometimes the algorithm doesn't pick you up. But over time, if you consistently do it over a long period of time, you will become better because you have more at bats. If I compare my ability to communicate, my production, our editing, everything today compared to 5 years ago, it's a night and day difference. In fact, let's pull it up. Let's put a clip right here and you can notice everything from my aura, my presentation, my style, everything. It's just totally different and it just comes with the practice. So when you make a decision to become a creator, especially a creator-led founder, creating content just becomes part of your job. You cannot escape it because it's part of your daily routine. Well, it doesn't even have to be daily. Sometimes it's just weekly, right? But you constantly have to be creating content. Sometimes you don't get a return on investment. Sometimes you get a crazy return on investment. But that's just the game you play when you make the decision to get known by creating content. And the best way to balance having high quality, good content with volume is this. You want to do a lot of volume first to figure out like what's working, what's not. Then you look at your data to understand why do people click, what videos do they click on, and also what videos do most people watch. Then you take the best ones and you recreate it and have different variations, different angles, and then you just keep running the same strategies that keep working while experimenting on new ideas. So you see on my channel, I'll make a video about personal branding in 10 different ways, and each one is gonna be fresh. So you can watch today's video, you can watch tomorrow's video, you can watch our videos that we put out 2 weeks ago, and it's all gonna feel fresh because I'm coming in from different angles, different perspectives, different insights on every single one. So it's not repetitive, even though I may be talking about the same subject over and over. And if you look at the top brands in the space in general, you'll notice that they're literally talking about the same things just in different ways. So now that we got content going, you're creating volume, you know what's good, and you're picking the best ones, you're remaking them. Once you do build an audience, the next natural step is to have something to sell. Now, most creators are broke even though they're getting a lot of views, mainly because they get a lot of views, they focus on creating the content, but they don't focus on the business side of their business. Because after all, if you're not making money doing what you love, then it's just a hobby, right? You can be a painter, a pianist, a content creator, but if it's not generating an income and you have to have side jobs, or if you have to have a main job and creating content is on the side, then it's not truly a business. Now, the easiest way to make money is actually selling something that is yours, right? So, for me, I do brand sponsorships and I also create our own products and services, right? Now, the brands do pay well, but I don't want to rely on that. It's just whenever it comes, but it's not the main source of income, right? Because you don't want to rely on another person. What if they don't want to pay you anymore? What if you get into a scandal and they just don't want to touch your brand anymore? Then is your business dead, right? But by creating something that is yours, you can sell it forever to your audience as long as they trust you. Now, the easiest things to sell is going to be a couple things. It's going to be courses, which is like an info product, right? So it could be an ebook, a PDF, an online course, coaching and consulting, which is just selling your knowledge and helping someone achieve a goal, and services, which is really just doing work for somebody, right? These are by far the easiest things to sell. Things like physical products or like drop shipping or Amazon FBA or whatever, right? These are hard because there's actually physical product and inventory. Margins are traditionally lower compared to just selling a service because you're just selling your time, right? So I would start out by creating some kind of coaching or, whatever it is you help people with, and then turning that into an info product so you can scale. So in the example of, let's say, selling Pokemon cards, well, if you're selling a course on how to help people make money selling, buying and selling Pokemon cards, it could be in the form of a Discord community, an online course, one-on-one coaching with you if you're that good and people will pay you $1,000 an hour to teach them. There's many different ways to, slice and dice it. Now, if you need help with that, I actually created a prompt for you here, which is, I want you to build a 10K a month personal brand. Rank the monetization models I should consider from coaching, consulting, product, affiliates by speed, scalability, alignment with my skill set. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. Okay. So I went ahead and copy and pasted into ChatGPT, and this is what it's given me, right? So the one that I recommend the most is going to be the coaching one-on-one mentorship, which I can understand because it literally costs nothing to start. You just need a calendar link in your bio and say, hey guys, if you want to learn directly from me, book a time to talk on my calendar, see if it's a good fit. Literally, that's it, right? So if you charge, let's say they're recommending 1.5 to 3K for a 6-week transformation, that's actually pretty reasonable, because if you're helping somebody make money flipping cards, and could they make $1,000 a month? Yeah. Could they make more? Absolutely, right? It just depends on how much capital they start with. So it's not unreasonable to charge like $1,000 to $3,000 for some kind of coaching program. It's really common these days, right? So the best part of this is like, you don't have to create a course. You don't have to do much actually. You just sell your time on phone calls, Then the other thing they recommended was a group program. So it's kind of like more, instead of one-on-one, it's more of a community. So you could do group coaching calls, online course, that kind of stuff. And then they also recommend like digital products, which is more courses, ebooks, notions, things that are a little bit more scalable. Now, what was interesting that it gave me, and it gave some other ideas too, but those ones aren't that great. And so what it recommended to get to 10K a month, phase 1, launch a high ticket, coaching offer, right? Fastest cash, which is true. Document the results when you deliver the results for these people, and then turn that into a group coaching program and online community digital product. And then from there, you can layer in affiliates if you want, brand partnerships, which are good. Again, it's like you would rather make your money here, right? Not necessarily here. It's just bonus. That's my personal take on it. And that's actually like, if you think about this process in this video, we literally mapped out from the idea all the way to monetization strategy on how to get your first 10K per month, right? And it's legit. Like, I definitely have helped people through the Founder X program do things like that. I helped a lot of people go from their 9-to-5 job into building their own personal brand that makes a full-time income. So, you might think this is, AI is just saying that. No, this is actually real. And so if you made it this far in the video, you probably are very serious about building your personal brand, monetizing it, and going full-time as a creator-led founder, which is why I highly encourage you to check out founderx.net, which is going to be our elite business program where I personally help you go from a 9-to-5 employee, or maybe if you have a small business and you want to take it to the next level, I'm going to show you exactly how to build your personal brand and monetize it authentically so that you can hit your 10K a month goal or even beyond if that's what you choose. So if you're really serious about, building out that personal brand, creating content, and building a life of true freedom, to be honest, make sure to go to founderx.net, book a time with me and my team, and we'll talk to you to see if it makes sense to work together so we can give you some ideas on which direction you can take your life. So with that said, I will see you in the next one.